Good morning, my friend. Today, I am going to introduce unique knight in medieval age of Germany. His name is Götz von Berlichingen, also known as Götz of the Iron Hand. He was a German imperial knight, mercenary, and poet. He was born in 1480 and died in 1562. Götz was born into a wealthy family of knights, and he was educated in the traditional knightly arts, such as fencing, horse riding. However, you may feel more close to him once I say he is a model of Berserk, the character of Götz in the Japanese manga and anime series. Yes, Götz is a model for the character of Götz, main actor of Berserk. Mura Kentaro, comic artist of Berserk, has said that he was inspired by the story of Götz von Berlichingen when he created the character of Götz. And unfortunately, Mura had passed away already in 2021. We are not able to go for detail of their compatibility, but for example, both heroes lost their hand and installed prosthetic limb. Both characters are driven by a desire for revenge. Both characters are loyal to their friends and comrades. Both characters are willing to do whatever to achieve their goals. I believe, to a certain extent, they are synchronized in its characteristic. Of course, Götz is a fictional character who lives in a fantasy world, and not real warrior in our world, but it is also true that the knight story of medieval Europe is full of romance and many tiny but impressive person-appeared corner of history pages. Indeed, even Goethe also used him as a model for his work, as example of the way in which the Romantic movement drew inspiration from the past. But actually, Götz was not a simple noble and good knight, but quite disgusting characteristic from some point of view. Compare with Götz, he was more crazy and more unreasonable. In his early years, Götz was a successful mercenary. He fought in many wars, including the Italian Wars and the Peasants' War. He was known for his bravery and his skill in battle. Actually, in his childhood, he was extremely naughty and out of control. When he was 14 years old, he started his military career, but he was unbelievable hot temper, and his routine was endless fighting with others every day. So, his master got sick of him, and sometime put him in Tower Jail. When he was 20 years old, he knew feud. Feud is a term used to describe a long-standing quarrel or disagreement between two or more people or groups. Actually, feuds can be motivated by a variety of factors, such as personal grudges, political differences, or religious rivalries. Feud is the right of the knight to settle down any argument by their own force. But for Götz, feud is simple methods to snatch money from others. Once he finds victim, he can just simply voice out, feud. Then, whatever, no matter what, they have to open fire. He walks on the street, and saw someone who he does not like. He will shout to him, feud, and this guy has to accept fighting, or surrender, and apologies. Of course, this guy has to pay compensation to Götz, because Götz abused the feud to snatch money, exactly the way of mafia. If this guy cannot pay money, even Götz kidnapped this guy, and asked their relative to pay money for compensation. He was enjoying free and comfortable life, but unfortunately for him, in 1504, when he was 24 years old, Götz lost his right hand in a battle. But loss of only one single hand of him could not let him end up his guts. And he produced his own prosthetic hand made of iron, which he called his Iron Fist. This Iron Fist became a symbol of Götz's strength and determination. Upon historical record, it has fingers, and they could be moved. It was extreme high technology in these days, and not easy to produce for ordinary knights. But Götz was different from other knights. Do you know which point? He had a lot of money to produce such high mechanical technology device. By his feud and kidnapping. And in general, it could be disadvantage for him for his fighting, rather than before. But, upside down, he became much more stronger, rather than before. After obtaining his strong Iron Fist, he focused on his feud, more than before. And his heroic story opened its pages. Götz won the shooting contest in Cologne, in 1507. However, the Archbishop of Cologne refused to pay the prize money, due to argument of rule. Götz got angry at the city of Cologne for not paying him, and asked feud. The feud lasted for many years, between Cologne and the Archbishop. During this period, Götz kidnapped many citizens of Cologne, and demanded a lot of ransom money. Götz's feud with the Archbishop was not just motivated by anger at not being paid. Götz believed that the Archbishop was trying to suppress his power in order to strengthen the authority of the Holy Roman Emperor. Götz opposed this movement, and engaged in a feud with the Archbishop. Anyway, he settled this case with huge volume of compensation fee. And he studied, recognized that, if opponent is big, return also big. And Götz did engage in a feud with the imperial city of Nuremberg. Nuremberg was an important city in the Holy Roman Empire. In 1510, he declared feud to the mayor of Nuremberg, because his friend was imprisoning him there. However, this friend was already released, and actually, no reason to conduct feud. But Götz did not care, and go ahead for his own way. Because this is not a simple personal feud, but behind, also related to the conflict between the Empire and the Swabian League. The feud between Götz and Nuremberg is a classic example of a feud in medieval Europe. It can show that local knight was obtaining their own power to oppose to existing authority. Indeed, he was imposed the ban to remove his right to be a knight in Holy Roman Empire. However, Götz did not care this order at all, and still continue his attack against Nuremberg. So, Empire should order the ban again. But still Götz disregard, and finally, he was excommunicated from church. Do you understand? Knight must protect church, but church excommunicated him. Eventually, the two sides reached a settlement in 1512, mediated by Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I. In order to settle this feud, Maximilian I must come out. In later life, Götz retired to his castle at Hornberg. With the money he obtained through his feud activities, continued to write poetry and music, and he also became a popular figure in German folklore. He is remembered as one of the most important figures in German history. He was a loyal servant of the emperor, but he was also a defender of the rights of the common people. He was a symbol of the old German knightly tradition. But he was also a product of the changing times. In 1773, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe published a play based on the life of Götz. As a symbolic hero to support poor farmers. Famous Song of Mortet, Leck mich im Arsch, means, lick me in the ass, is routine phrase of Götz. Besides, the 10th SS Division that saw action on the Western Front during World War II was called Götz von Berlichingen. And without these, Götz may be forgotten in the between of history pages. Sometime, it deserves to dig up these, not famous people, but colorful heroes in the history book, and they may inspire you to go to another old, but fantastic world.
As the journey continues.